Wakefield. Catalans are the Women's Super League champions. The most amazing day for the Leeds Rhino. Warrington dominating. Great try for the Robins. Huddersfield Giants take the points home. It's Vincent! It's a poor lad. That is one sensational try. 3 in a row, the Saints. The three-peat is achieved. An 8th grand final win for the Red Bee.
Well, good evening. Welcome to the last tackle here on the Sportsman, our weekly delve into the world of rugby league. Delighted to be joined this week by former England international Kevin Brown and the voice of rugby league for all that time, Eddie Hemmings. Gents, great to have you both on. As ever, loads to get through. We're going to start off in the Betfred Super League and just round up the weekend just gone. And Kev, we were just talking off air about Toulouse and whether they can come back from the position they're in. They went down 22-16 to Hull KR. They were on top, winning that game for large parts of it, and then fell away. Are they done?
No, I don't think they're done yet. Whether they are done at the end of the year, I'm not sure. That one will hurt, I think. Obviously, going into the game on the back of, I think they've won 3 out of 5. They went there confident. Hull KR were busted. Danny Maguire said he's never seen anything like it, and he got a few more again. But yeah, I just thought they had opportunities to win that game, and if they had won that game, I think the pressure turned up on Wakefield. You know, that's already very, very high. But Warrington as well, I think, you know, they're still in it, but they're not up to the neck in it like Wakefield are.
Toulouse, Eddie, what do you make of it?
Well, I'll disagree with Kevin. First up, I'm sorry, I think they're gone. I've thought that actually from day one. I think they've done it really tough, as all newly promoted sides do. You know, they've battled bravely. They had that run of the hot July with all their 4 home games. They did pretty well there. They won at the Magic Weekend as well. But you look at what's to come for them. They've got Warrington this week away from home. Then they've got Wigan away from home. Then they have the local derby with the Catalan Dragons at home. That's their only home game in their run-in. Then they go to Hull, and then they go to St Helens. I can't see them winning another match between now and the end of the season. I really can't. Which grieves me to say that, because I think the 2 French clubs, they add a lot to the Super League. I think they have add a lot to the fact that the fans can go down there twice a year. I know they don't bring thousands of supporters up with them to England to watch the games, to stand on the terrace, sit on the seats, buy the beers, buy the pies, and all the hospitality. But I think the 2 French clubs have brought so much to Super League this year, and I'm sorry to see them go, but I honestly cannot see them hanging on, not with that run-in that they've got.
Well, obviously time will tell, but Huddersfield 22, Hull FC 16, Kev, you just said Hull KR missing a few players. I think there must be something in the water on Humberside at the moment, because Hull FC up on bricks as well, and Huddersfield just enough to get past them. Yeah,
and I think it probably shows where Huddersfield are at the minute. They've slipped a little bit. I don't think Ian Watson would have expected to, you know, creep over the line against Hull FC with how many players out they've got out, and, you know, these disjointed halfbacks that they've got. But I thought Hull FC really dug in, but the way they lost with 2 Danny Levi dive over tries is just not good enough. Even with, you know, a depleted side, you'd expect them to be able to defend that, and I think that's the disappointment. When they've done all the work, Jake Connor's back, he's influential again, they've scored 16 points, they're in front, just defend your line. They couldn't do that, but that's what Ian Watson and his sides do. I saw a quote he mentioned about Warrington, that if we stay in the fight, they'll crumble. They did that last week, and they did the same this week, and Hull FC just couldn't defend their way to a win.
I don't want to dismiss the rest of Huddersfield's season, because they're very much still in the hunt, thereabouts, Eddie, but in a lot of ways, because of how good they've been up till now, lost in that cup final, pretty comfortable in the playoff positions, has it kind of already been a success for them?
Maybe so, but they've got a great coach in Ian Watson, and I mean now, what is it? They've had back-to-back wins, the Giants, in the last 2 matches, and they play Salford next. That's a huge game for both clubs. You know, I think the Giants can still get there. I mean, if you look at the table, they're 3rd in the table. They're 29 points. Castleford are 5th on 22. So there's 7 points difference. I think they're in the playoffs. I don't think there's any question about that. And in the playoffs, it's just a question then of who beats who on the day, who peaks on the day.
And what I will say, to back Eddie up on that, what Watto and Greg Brown, the conditioner, are very good at is sort of periodising the training. So it's not, they won't be too worried about now. They'll be worried about, in a fortnight's time, being ready. I think they'll be putting a real big block of training in now, and they'll probably limping into games a little bit so they can explode in a couple of weeks being really, really fit.
I wonder how Hull are going to go between now and the end of the season, because the 3 youngsters they've signed on loan have revitalised them to a degree. Ellis Longstaff and also Jack Walker, and the other one is Josh Sim. But Josh Sim has now been recalled by St Helens because they've got a little bit of an injury crisis at Saints. So I wonder how much they will miss them between now and the end of the season. I mean, Longstaff has been tremendous.
I think they lost another 2, didn't they, at the weekend?
Yeah.
They lost Evans and Brown's gone for the year. So, yeah, they're doing it as tough as anyone. But it seems to be a theme through the year that there's so many ravaged sides through injury.
Is there something in the water in East Yorkshire, do you think? Is that what it is?
Quite possible. Another team doing it tough, very tough. Eddie, Warrington, it was always going to be tough going to Wigan. When you look at the form of the 2 teams, 32-6 is probably a fairly accurate representation of where the 2 clubs are at the moment.
It was in terms of the second half. I mean, Warrington were in it. Matt Duffy, of course, gets injured in his debut game, doesn't play. That's another blow for Warrington, who've now lost 4 in a row. But, you know, they were 6-0 up and they were fighting all the way. And you think about it, if Ashton picks up that ball, which is bobbling around, or hacks it forward, the line's begging, there's another try. Williams' inside pass that is drifting forward and is knocked on in the Inga. There's 2 more tries at Wigan for Warrington. Confidence goes to the roof.
The offload.
Exactly. And then Wigan go up the other end, right on the bell at half-time, 6-4. After that, Wigan just took control. I mean, a lot's been said about Jay Field, rightly, and Bevan French, rightly, this year. But what about Liam Marshall?
Yeah.
You know, a hat-trick of tries at the weekend.
He's right in that England fold again, isn't he?
Outstanding performance from him, yet again. I do think Warrington are safe. I go back to this week's game against Toulouse. They beat them, it's all over. And I think with what have they got now? They've got 14 points. They should be safe with 14 points anyway because of Toulouse's desperate run in at the end of the season. But they win on the weekend on Thursday, live on Sky. I think Warrington's season is done and dusted. They can relax and they can plan for another year, which will be their year in 2023. I remember the first game, the first weekend of this programme I was in with Mark, and we were asked, were you with me? I can't remember. And we were asked, who's going to win the Super League this year? And I said, I'll be the first to say it in 2022. This is going to be Warrington's year.
Well, I thought it was going to be the same. But the way...
I think for the first 3 games...
They were great.
They were...
Yeah.
You know, it looks like it's a confidence issue, doesn't it? St Helens 20, Cas 12, Kev. Just moving on. Saints back in with a win. It'll be a confidence booster, obviously, after what happened the week before. They still don't look like the St Helens that we've been used to in the last 3 years, but, you know, they ground that win out.
They did. They won the game. I think what Johnny Lomax is doing is just carrying that team on his back, or carrying the attack on his back on his own with Wellesby now. My worry for them is that they're just creaking. You can see that they're throwing a team together every week. Every week, the young lads, there's more being blooded. You know, that's okay in the mid-season period. Get them a bit of exposure, but not going into these big games. I just feel that if they do get any more injuries, I'm not sure. As good as they are and they're ticking a lot of boxes, Wellesby went off and ticked another box, came back on and contributed fantastically. But I just feel if they lose a Roby, a Wellesby, a Walmsley, or someone, you know, another key player, I just don't think they'll be able to beat Wigan, Catalans, Huddersfield with any confidence that they are at the start of the year.
Wakefield 16, Catalans 20. A ship steadier for Catalans, really. Wakefield will still be looking over their shoulder, probably right up until that last weekend. And then Leeds 34, Salford Red Devils 14. And I'll come to you on this one. 2 teams who were playing really good rugby league, have found some form. They're kind of going into this end of the season hot. But Leeds at this time of year, I don't know what happens, but whoever the coach is, whatever the circumstance, whatever the context, Leeds in August and September is like a different team to whatever you've seen at the beginning of the year.
They are, and they've won it, of course, from 5th on 2 occasions under Brian McDermott. And it's 3 wins in a row for Leeds now as well. And Salford having beaten Toulouse, Castleford and Saints 44-12 the previous week. What an eye-catching result that was. They were brought down to earth with a bit of a bump. Harry Newman is another outstanding young player. that's come to the fore in Super League this year, and ominously Leeds are in the top 6 for the first time. But I'll just mention the discipline at Leeds, because apparently they are the most banned team in the competition in 2022. 20 players banned, 44 games have been missed. They've got another 3 out this week, Leeds, from last week's victory. Discipline will play a massive part in who gets to Old Trafford and the grand final. I mean, the way the game is refereed at the moment, and the clampdown on the high tackles. I mean, Kev, you've taken head knocks. I mean, that is now a high tackle, just under the
well, it's
the
a
chin.
high tackle and it's a ban.
And yes, 2 or 3 game ban. Yeah. And if it's reckless, it's more. Careless, it's less.
Repeated.
Yeah, and Matt Pryor, five times he's been banned this year. 5 times.
It is going to be key, isn't it? Discipline for all teams. Leeds obviously 3 out this weekend, as you've mentioned, Eddie. From that, big breaking news since the weekend coming out of Wigan. Lee Briers has announced that he will leave the club at the end of the season. He's off to Brisbane Broncos to take up a coaching opportunity with them in the NRL, and here he is just explaining that decision.
Yeah, it's come out of the blue. I've always had an ambition to go to Australia to test myself. Firstly as a player, but it wasn't quite good enough. Obviously now as a coach, and an opportunity arose to go to the Brisbane Broncos. So why I'm excited to move, and also it's a bittersweet moment because I absolutely love it at Wigan, and it's been a tremendously tough decision to take, but it's one that if I didn't take I'd probably regret, and I don't live with regrets. But I think that this one was just too big of an opportunity to miss.
Yeah, Lee Briers off to the NRL, Brisbane Broncos, for a coaching opportunity there at the end of the year. Eddie, you've sat in this very chair and told us before that he's one of your favourite players that you ever commentated on and have seen over the years. A loss for Wigan, a loss for the game in this country. A fantastic opportunity for Lee.
Brilliant opportunity for Lee, and I'm delighted that he has got the chance to go to the NRL and prove himself, albeit in a assistant coaching capacity. But that's what he is doing at Wigan, what he did at Warrington. And he is a deep thinker on the game. Lee really is a changed character over the last 5-10 years, and he thinks deeply about the game. He watches matches almost continuously. This is a fantastic move for him. It's not a great move for Wigan, because I think they will miss him, because what he's done for Wigan this year in a short time with the likes of Harry Smith, for instance, he's turned him into a great kicker, great thinker of the game. Lee was the organiser at Warrington. Brilliant player. I used to love him. I actually said when I left on the programme they did on me that I thought he was the best player that I'd seen in Super League. Pound for pound, number 6.
He was lighter than me.
He was a lot lighter than you. Probably the best I've seen. And he never got his chance for Great Britain. I did the Briers for Britain campaign. It never happened. It never worked out. But a fantastic deep thinker on the game, a tactician. And people say to me in Warrington, what's happened to Warrington this year? And I don't disbelieve that Darryl Powell is a fantastic coach. I think that the Warrington was taken out of Warrington when Lee Briers left and went to Wigan. I think if Lee was at Warrington now, things might be slightly different. I don't know.
Yeah, we wish Lee all the best on the show and his new adventure in Australia. A fantastic opportunity for him, but he's got work to do, of course, at Wigan between now and the end of the season. Will his last game as a Super League coach for the time being be at Old Trafford?
So this is it. The stage is set. A season's work goes on the line. It's time to decide the champions of Super League. Robinson, what a try! Billy Wears with a try. Paul will step inside Aitchison, gets away from Nicol. Henry Paul without a boot. He's got Nicol in pursuit. Nicol gets to him, but Henry Paul stands over. This is the moment for long. He's kicked it. Leon Price on the break for Saints. Leon Price will get over for St Helens. He's gone round Willows. But Dickerson stopped on a try. Oh, that's a head clash. The king of pedigree has done it again. The Monaghan final. I think Ben Flower's grand final is over. Tony Makinson hasn't come up with the winning try. Watkins inside the midline. Leeds Rhinos have won the treble. Dominic Manfredi wins the dream fairy tale ending for Sean Wayne.
He's hit the post, the chasers are on, the ball is just in there, it's Wellesby, Wellesby might have got the try, Jack Wellesby.
Garner is in for a second, Garner is in for a second of the game.
Yeah, 25 years of the Betfred Super League Grand Final, some brilliant moments there. Some of the commentary was okay as well, Eddie.
Not bad.
That is, of course, where we're ending up on September the 24th. A long way to go, of course, and there are 2 points separating 5th and 9th. Can you remember that race for the playoffs been quite this tight before, Eddie?
No, I can't. It is a great race. I think that the top 4 is just about done. 5 and 6 are the 2 big question marks. Who's going to end up there? You wouldn't back against the Leeds Rhinos and then, pick any one of the rest to join them in the top 6. No, it's a tight run race. It really is. I can't see anything though other at the moment than a Saints Wigan Grand Final at this moment in time. I think that's going to be the decider. But as we said earlier on the programme, on a given day, Salford can beat St Helens the way they did. If you don't turn up with your A game, you're going to struggle in a one-off cup tie, which is basically what the playoffs are.
I remember a slogan a few years back. It was every minute matters. And that is the case this year. The top 4 are done, but they're still jostling around. Then from 5 to 9, I think it'll be Leeds and Salford. I just think the way they're playing, and I think most other teams or the top 4, they'll be hoping it's not, because like Eddie says, Salford, the way they can just turn up, you don't really know what to expect. One week they'll win by 40 and the next week they'll lose by 40. They're a very, very difficult team, I'm sure, to prep against.
Yeah, all to play for at the back end of the season, and we'll be with you every step of the way right here on the Sportsman Rugby League.
Don't miss a thing from the new home of Rugby League Online.
Follow the Sportsman on social media
and follow their YouTube channel for exclusive content.
Yeah, the race for the playoffs is on, so let's start with this weekend's action, and we've talked about it in dispatches in the build-up, Eddie, but Warrington versus Toulouse at the bottom end of the table, massive. Huge
for both clubs. As I said right at the start, I think Warrington win it, and I think they are done and dusted for this year. I think they will then be safe. But you look down the list of there's something riding on every game this weekend. There was last weekend. Isn't it fantastic? That here we are, 5 games from the end of the season, and nothing yet is really sorted out. In the old days, Wigan had won it by now. It was all over, done and dusted, first past the post. Here we've got any combination of Castleford, Leeds, Salford, Hull FC and Hull KR who could get into the playoffs, and then God alone knows what's going to happen. It's a one-off game. It's a massive chance for someone to write themselves a bit of history. Fantastic. But yeah, Warrington Toulouse, huge for both of them. Toulouse sneak a win. Oh, hello.
I think it's the most important 10 minutes for Warrington at the start of this game that they've had all year. If they go behind, I don't think they've got the mental fortitude to pull themselves back. They're not an unfit side, and they've conceded over 30 points in 11 out of the last 13 games. So it shows you when they go behind, they collapse. If they go behind against Toulouse at home, and I'm talking from experience, when that pressure tourniquet's turned up, I don't think they can pull themselves out of it.
Everyone's asking what's gone wrong at Warrington. I mean, what is it? They build up they get themselves into a winning position, and in the last 10, 15, 20 minutes, boom, collapse in a heap. Yeah. Is it just the fact that it's a change of culture completely?
For me, it's trust. I think once you start losing, and then you change things, and then you change personnel, and then you change your game plan. I think once that trust goes and it doesn't work again, then as soon as it starts wobbling, the wheels aren't as steady as they were at the start of the year.
So is it trust by the players and the coach?
It's a group, and that's the difference. I think when you look at a Wigan or a Saints, it isn't player, coach or staff and fans, it's the collective group culture. I don't see that at the minute. I see coach, players firing off because they've clearly gone like that. I think they need to come together if they're going to eventually be their year.
And if Warrington supporters have ambitions of Super League survival, they've got to get down there on Thursday night.
A tough place to go, isn't it, the Halliwell Jones? We've seen it on playoff nights. That will be a bit different. Castleford versus Catalans, Kevin. Cats very much in the frying pan. The heat's been turned up underneath them. This is a big game for them in terms of just trying to distance themselves from 7th.
Yeah, they need to win. There's no two ways about it. But so do Catalans. I think Catalans, having, I think it was 11 French players out of the 17, it shows how busted they are as well. They've not gone without their problems this year. They've been up and down a little bit. So this is a huge game in terms of the top 6. If Castleford lose this, I don't think they'll make the top 6.
And Catalan with so many injuries as well. They were missing 13 players last week. And as you say, Steve McNamara brings the youngsters in, the French players in. And he's described the win last weekend as probably his best ever in his time at Catalan. It was timely. It really was a timely win for them because they steadied the ship down. But it's huge, this, for Cass. Absolutely massive. If Lee Radford has ambitions of getting Castleford into the 6, he's got to win this one.
Salford Huddersfield, Eddie, there's a little bit of bad blood between Salford fans and Ian Watson because of the way that he left the club. Obviously, plenty of Huddersfield players have been on the other side of this, but also two teams who have shown this season that they're very entertaining rugby league football teams.
Yes, indeed. And two coaches, I think, who like to play a little bit off the cuff. I mean, Ian Watson, maybe not so much as Paul Rowley. He was a bit of a maverick, and it can be up there 1 minute with Salford and down there the next, as they've proved over the last 2 weekends. But again, a fantastic match. You think, well, who's going to win this one? And isn't it great that you're going into these matches these days and saying, blimey, I wonder who's going to win? I wonder who's going to win this one, because it has repercussions for both sides. It's not like, it's a walkover. Yeah. It's a walkover for Huddersfield. It's a walkover for this. This could go either way. Salford at home, been on a great run of form until last weekend, Salford. Brought back to earth with a bump. Rowley will look for a little bit of a response.
The old boys
it's a grudge game. Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it's Tuilala here.
Will they be thinking about that and talking about that, or is that just something that supporters care about?
I think the players, them two, and Watto will have a little chat. I think one thing that Watto will know is Rowley's game plan inside out, and vice versa. I think it's such an intriguing battle. I think two of the best coaches in the competition going head to head this week in that game.
Hull FC St Helens, Kev. Interesting, just purely because of the amount of players missing. Hull FC might fancy their chances of this at home, a little bit of a free shot, I guess, against St Helens.
Yeah, they're expected to lose, and like you say, it is a bit of a free shot. My worry is they've just lost another couple of players, especially in the pack. It's an area that they've not really been solid in all year. They've missed players. I think Scott Taylor's come back in and done really well for them, but yeah, you can't back against St Helens. The quality that they've got, and if Lomax and Wellesby produced similar performances to what they've been producing all year, I still fancy Saints. But like you say, Hull FC will fancy it, but I think they'll have to not only raise the game a little bit from where they played against Huddersfield, but play it for 80 minutes.
Wakefield versus Wigan. Eddie, Wigan obviously in good form anyway, have been good this season. If Lee Breeze has had the impact on the club that we keep being told he has, and I completely believe that he has, is that the narrative for the Wigan players to spur them on even further and really dominate the back end of this year?
You would think so. I mean, Wakefield will be a difficult place to go just at the moment because they're not safe. The trapdoor is creaking underneath them, and they lose this, and the previous game Toulouse have won. Oh, the pressure really will be on. But at the minute, you would back Wigan to beat anybody. They're playing so well, They're scoring tries for fun. I think they had a stat on the TV last week. Marshall, French and Field, they scored over 60 tries between them. It's a remarkable strike force that they've got at Wigan this year. Bevan French, we're being told all the time, is like that about moving back to the NRL, which would be a big loss for them. But in 2022, they are the irresistible force at the moment, and they just could give Lee Briers the best farewell present of all with a victory at Old Trafford on the 24th of September.
Yeah, as you said at the beginning of this, Eddie, every game has got something significant on it this weekend. We mentioned Leeds' discipline. Well, tonight, across the RFL channels, they're opening the door into the disciplinary process and the latest episode of the Sin Bin.
Yeah, we're big on it because it's become an issue in the sport this season. Until this year, we'd had 1 or 2 incidents across the last 3 or 4 years where players who were clearly injured or lay down potentially injured being picked up by players. We'd reminded clubs over the last couple of years about this, and then as this season has gone on, we've seen more and more players continue to do it, despite, I think Dave can tell you, an actual email that was sent to clubs partway through the season reminding them not to do this.
Dave, just enlighten us on that, because there is a misconception that players, clubs, coaches don't know what's going on. Just give us the full SP.
Yeah, I think over the past few years, Rod, that these we've seen these incidents, and we do remind periodically the clubs and the players about, please do not lay your hands on a stricken player on the field, because you just don't know what's wrong there. And I think we had an incident in the first couple of rounds of Super League, and I wrote to the coaches at the end of February to say, look, please tell your players under no circumstances must they handle injured players on the ground. Leave that to the extensive teams of medical professionals that we have at games. So that's the job of medical people, the players and the referees. It's not their place to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kev, obviously you're an ex-player. This has been a contentious issue. There's been a few around the rules throughout the season, and it keeps coming back to ultimately player welfare, and we've got to protect the athletes.
Yeah, definitely, and I'm all for that. I just feel sometimes when new rules come out, we lose a little bit of common sense, and I'm all for player welfare, but there is a risk sometimes that players in rugby league get injured, and I knew what I was doing when I played rugby, and all the lads do. So that's part of the game. I hate it when our superstars don't play against each other at the week, and if it's over a small misdemeanour, I'd say, look, I'd rather fine them and punish them, but if it's a one-off, just let them play.
Well, gents, we've run out of time. It's been an absolute pleasure having you both with us. Eddie, I know you've hung up the mic, but you still get that kind of buzz at this time of year. Old Trafford on the horizon, playoffs on the horizon, every game massive. Does it ever make you think, give Sky a ring, go back?
I think they'd put the phone down me if I did.
They've blocked your number, I've heard.
Yeah, delete. Listen, the game fills me with enthusiasm, and watching the VT before of the old matches, the old grand finals, I believe me and Steve-O and Neville Smith, we had the golden era of Super League. We really did. Those grand finals, packed stadiums, fantastic. Yeah, I sit there and I actually sit there and I shout at him when he's on the telly, and I shout at Barry and Terry, and I shout at the commentators. But that's just because I'm living and breathing every minute of it. No, my time was done, and it was my time to hand it on, and I did so, with grateful thanks for everything that the game gave me. But at this time of year, the spices starting, the blood stuff. We can't wait now for the 24th of September. Get back to Old Trafford.
I know you're enjoying having your feet up.
Oh yeah, well I'm loving watching it. It's a lot easier the next day when you talked about it instead of playing.
Definitely.
Well, gents, thank you for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for joining us, tuning in every week on the last tackle throughout the season. It's been superb. There's still so much more to come. And we'll leave you this week with the contenders for Try of the Week.
Hello and welcome to Try of the Week. I'm Ross, and here are this week's contenders. Try number 1, it's the England Lions PDRL side up against the PDRL Select side. Dean passes over the top like it's a basketball into the arms of Seward on the wing. He's got space out wide and crashes over in the corner to put England in the lead. Try number 2, and it's a Northwest Men's Trophy final. Salford City Roosters versus the West Bank Bears. Roosters on the attack now, and it's a nice pass to Muscat, who eases through the middle of the defensive line. It's poor defence from West Bank, and Muscat's got Priestley in support. Priestley's away now, and he crosses over under the post for Salford City Roosters. To Headingley for try number 3, where the Rhinos are on a revival. O'Connor at dummy half gets it to Myler. To Bentley, who palms off the defence into the arms of Newman. Good footwork from him with Fussy Tua on the edge. Fussy Tua charging down the line, and it's a pass back on the inside to Myler, but Newman's in a perfect position to collect. He's got the legs, and it's a sensational team effort to put the Rhinos in the lead. Try number 4 when we're off to the Championship. Barrow Raiders away at the Lee Centurions. Jared Samet with the ball out to Majid Maloudi. Maloudi with the kick downfield and Ritson's on the chase. Nenny McDonald hoping to put a stop to this, but Samet's still there in support. It's a lovely inside pass and there's no stopping Superman Samet, who touches down under the posts. To Batley for try number 5 and the Yorkshire Men's League final. Doncaster Tolbar in the lead and Kieran Lawton comes flying into the pass. Look at this breakthrough and look at the speed on Lawton. He's out on his own, but he doesn't need the support, and it's a superb solo effort from Kieran Lawton for Doncaster. Try number 6 and it's the Women's Super League. It's a close game in the final quarter between Warrington and Featherstone. Grace with the kick into the arms of Sutherland. She turns the ball around and look at that, she takes no prisoners. She comes charging down the line here in the Featherstone defence. They can't keep pace. Dad's at fullback for Featherstone. She's their only hope now, and it's a one-on-one wrestle between attack and defence. But Lucy Eastwood, she comes to the rescue. Sutherland with the offload, and Eastwood crosses over for a length of the field effort for Warrington Wolves. Back to the Championship for try number 7, and it's the York City Knights on the attack against Dewsbury. O'Hagan into the arms of Marcus Stock. Lovely footwork from the forward, who teases the defence and finds a gap. He looks to be through, but he's got fullback Matty Marsh in support, who runs it over for his second try of the day. And finally, try number 8, it's the London Broncos away at Newcastle Thunder. Parata dancing around the defence. Quick pass to Leyland, who drives it forward with Ulberg on the edge, and it's a try for the hat-trick hero of London Broncos. 8 tries, but only one winner. Head to the R League app now to vote for your favourite.